I've been drowning in produce, but it's late July and I need to do a garden tour so you can see the wild July garden. Hey there friends, it's Barbara Sue at Kowalski Mountain and welcome back to the homestead. Now I'm trying to walk carefully here in the garden because the July garden is a wild garden. And ours is bursting. Now she's really starting to show her age. She's starting to show some signs that maybe the end is in sight. But I want you to see where our garden is in late July. Now it's been weeks since I published a garden tour for you. It's actually been 7. We enjoyed the grandkids' visit immensely. And then the farm work that had kind of been neglected while they were here really reared her head and demanded attention. Now I have been canning like crazy, making a ton of tomato products, and today is no different. I have canning to work on today. But I was determined to get a garden tour out for you so you can see this wild garden. So tomatoes is what is overwhelming me at the moment, so let's start there. Now you can see this time of the year the weeds are really taking over. The plants are starting to look spent. Some of our trellising has fallen over, but look at the tomatoes. Even a neglected garden wants to grow. It's not really neglected, it's just very overwhelming in its sheer size. Now Philip is our gardener here, and he brings in tomatoes by the bucketfuls. 5-gallon buckets at a time, just full of tomatoes. We pick them, you know, at these blushing stages, and we ripen them on trays. Now I see a little bit of this. That looks like, that might be from the leaves. That might be, it almost looks like hornworm damage, but there's not enough damage to the plant to tell me that. Now Philip has said he has found some worms in here, so he's going to pick tomatoes, I'm pretty sure today, and try to get them before the worms do. You can see here I've got a lot of work ahead of me. Now over here, the trellising fell over. I don't even know how he gets through here. I may have to go back around. This way doesn't look much better. Now over here, you can see a little bit better where the trellising actually fell over. Philip said they should have been longer poles, that they were further into the ground. We've gotten a ton of rain also. Can't remember if the flooding happened before or after the last garden tour. We had some major flash flooding here on the farm. So this entire row right here just, well, a good half of this row right here just toppled right over under the weight of all the tomatoes. Now I noticed some of these tomatoes look sunburned. He doesn't even need to bring those in. Those will not be any good for anything. Now when Philip picks the tomatoes that are blushing or only partially red, they're not completely vine ripened, and the reason we don't allow that is because this is an organic garden. We're not spraying for bugs, so we have to beat them. And one of the best ways is to get them before the bugs do. So we ripen them in the house, yes, in the middle of the RV living room on these bread trays. Now the trays are working fantastic because in a relatively small amount of space I can stack trays pretty high and allow the tomatoes to ripen. The bad thing is I have to go through these at least every other day to make sure there are no bad tomatoes and to pull off the tomatoes that are ripening. Now my biggest fear is getting fruit flies in my RV, because if I do, it's going to be a nightmare to get rid of them. So I'm really trying to stay on the fruit, not allowing anything to over ripen or go bad without being dealt with. So I've been working on that religiously. The basil is smelling so good in here. I have been completely overwhelmed by these tomatoes because I am having to process like 60 pounds at a time. I'm just trying to stay ahead of it, and I'm doing large batches every time I process. You know, I'm working pretty systematically to make sure we have all the tomato products that we want to last us the year. Now, Philip tells me the other day, he said, you might be happy to hear this, I'm not sure. He said, but I think that the tomatoes are starting to decline. And I got a little panicky. I haven't made everything I need to make yet. So I am kind of changing my plan a little bit. So far this year, I've already made enchilada sauce. I made some tomato sauce, not very much. 60 pints of salsa, more than enough. 25 pints of ketchup. 4 pints of barbecue sauce. And I wanted to do another batch of ketchup because we use ketchup for a lot of things like making barbecue sauce. But I realized I better make sure we have some of everything. So I went ahead and skipped ahead to spaghetti sauce. I need to do tomato sauce, and I need to do diced tomatoes, and I need to do tomato juice. So those are the 4 main things that I still need to produce. Now I have been working on spaghetti sauce for the past couple of days, and we're going to go in the kitchen today and I'm going to work on that a little bit, but I didn't make near enough. About 70 pounds of tomatoes only produced about 14 quarts. So we need more than 14 quarts of spaghetti sauce to last the year. Now all the basil has gone to seed. Let me see if I can find you some. Oh, this is basil right here. You can see that it's gone to seed. It's already flowered. It smells so nice. And I actually really like the flowers on basil. Here's some hot peppers hiding here. I know that it's hard to see that in the weeds, but that is what is there. The broccoli's already been pulled. You can see that that's going to seed a little bit too. Oh, look, a ladybug. But we've already pulled off the big heads off of this. It's just the little parts that grow back that are left. This is the celery, and it looks like I need to work on that. Still looks like plenty of tomatoes to me. I don't know about you. Now in this heat, I am seeing some blossoms, but not very much. Now let's talk about varieties a little bit, because we have 5 or 6 varieties here in the garden this year. And I was pretty proud of Philip for planting some of the more exotic ones, like the tiger striped ones. We were a little disappointed with that because they never turned red. They just say green and like yellow. Now I have to say, my Amish paste are still my favorite tomato for what I'm doing, processing a lot of tomato products. It's a beefy tomato. There's not a ton of seeds in it, and they're easy to work with, and they're still my favorite tomato. Now he really likes the beefsteaks, I think is what they're called, and they are also pretty good for what I'm doing. But some of the smaller tomatoes, I don't even want to bother with those. I don't like working with them. I want a big meaty tomato that fills my pot. So next year I really want to streamline that down and plant the varieties that we really want to produce. Now I'll be honest, I haven't seen much of the rest of the garden. Pretty much since that last garden tour. So let's go check it out. Now I'm over here in the corn patch, and Philip told me that some of the corn, well, he told me it really needed to be picked, but some of this looks like it needed to be picked already. One of the things I did ask him to do, that if he can, is that he needs to pay attention to when the main production crop is going to be coming in, whether that be tomatoes or beans or potatoes, whatever it is that year that we really want to focus on and really stock our pantry with, that we're mindful of when it's coming in. So things like corn aren't coming in at the same time. Because at this point I'm completely overwhelmed with tomatoes. I haven't even had time to do anything else. And I can definitely see there's a lot of corn in there that needs to come in. Well, the good news, that still looked good, so looks like I'll be putting corn up too. Now, one of the things that Philip is really good about doing is planting the corn in succession. And I have to say that he's done a really good job of doing that so that it doesn't all come in at once, that we can kind of spread that out a little bit. So you can see there's a younger succession back here, and this is the one that needs to be harvested right now. And this is the sweet corn that we use for eating. What a pretty butterfly. Now behind me are the dry beans, and dry beans are so easy to grow. You plant them and you let them dry on the plants. Now, they do look like they need a little bit of fertilizer because they're yellowing. We've gotten a ton of rain, and the weeds are making this one row beside me really struggle. But the best part is these don't require a lot of maintenance or picking or anything like that during the season. At the end, we'll pull them and it'll be easy to manage. You can see all the beans, and I don't remember which varieties are here, but there's navy beans, kidney beans, and black beans over here. We've still got some green ones going on, but you can see they're really yellowing. They need some fertilizer probably, and then the weeds are really making that one row struggle. Now the potatoes are up in there, and I don't know what he's going to do about that. We usually use the tractor to harvest those, so the weeds there have gotten really bad. Now we did get all the garlic out of the ground. I am doing a special video on garlic, which I need to edit. And Philip has done a ton of onions. Look at that little butternut squash. Can you see that? That's a volunteer plant. Now my compost pile plants are doing amazing, which to me is always so funny because they tell you not to use your compost, until it ages so that it doesn't burn the plants. But then the plants grow like crazy in the compost. Now one of the guineas, I haven't seen her in a little while, but I know she was setting on eggs because she wasn't returning to the roost. But I haven't seen her in a while, so I hope she's survived. So now I'm going to show you my compost pile pumpkin, and this thing is impressive. Now I did take some footage in the early morning when it's blooming at its peak, and I want to be sure to show you that as well. But this is what it looks like right now, which is towards the middle of the day. Now I have no idea how many pumpkins are in there because we just can't see them all. I can spot one in there. There's one right here. I thought I saw a second one. There's a smaller one out here near the edge. Here it is. Got another green one over here. And I'm trying to see signs of them in there. Oh, there's one, two more. Another one over there. So a very successful volunteer pumpkin patch, growing like crazy out of the compost pile. Now there's also volunteer tomatoes over there. I have no intention of picking those. I don't know if you can see them. Right over there. Those are probably cherry tomatoes. I have no intention of picking them this year. Now this morning I had an appointment and I had to hurry out, and I didn't have time to water one of our newest animals here on the homestead. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with you. So let's go check out the goslings. Now when I walk away, maybe they'll come up. I knocked over my camera. Oh my goodness. Well, looks like it's okay. So it takes a little while to fill up that pool. I try to only dump it every other day just because it's a lot of water and we haul all of our water here on the homestead. So where if you had a well or something you might dump it every day, we're a little bit more frugal with our water. It really depends on how nasty it looks to whether I'll dump it every day. Now last night I actually dumped it because there was a storm coming in, so I came out and dumped it, and I made sure it was uncovered here at the front in hopes that it would fill up with the rain, and it got a little bit of rain, but not nearly enough. Now this morning I had an appointment, and so they had drinking water when I left, but the pump needed to be charged. And so I said I'll fill their pool later after it charges. And that's actually really wise. I have better pressure now than I would have if I tried to do it when the battery was weak. I still haven't done that video on homestead water for you. It's on my list. Now we put them in the chicken tractor because we had the Kentucky Sustainable Living Festival, and I needed to know that they were safe, that they had good shade, and there wouldn't be any problems with us coming in late at night because they're babies. So I put them in the chicken tractor kind of on a whim, and I don't know how we're going to get them out. That's not going to be easy. One of us is going to have to crawl in there to get them out. But that's a future problem. It's not a today problem. For now, it's working really well. Now they love fresh grass, but they don't like the really tall grass. And there's some really tall grass in there right now, and they won't eat any of that. Now I have enjoyed the goslings so much. I was so afraid that I had ruined the eggs. We had to do a trip to Louisville, and when we were gone, the incubator went to 106 degrees, and who knows how long it was like that. And during that heat wave, it kept going up. I was having to really watch my incubators to make sure they didn't get too hot. Well, the goslings started hatching early. They started hatching at 28 days when they should take 32 to 35. And all I can think was they were like, get me out of this egg, it's sweltering in here. But we had 11 hatch and I am enjoying them so much. I love watching them swim in their pool. They really flock together. They are really fun. Alright, I have a few things left to show you and then I've got to get to work. So over here we have some more corn, and Philip planted some melons, and actually there might be pumpkins in here. My elderberry is looking fantastic. I'm actually thinking about doing you pick elderberry because I don't need any. Excuse me, I did a ton last year. And I'm thinking about just letting people come buy some. Let's look at the apple tree. We haven't looked at that this year. This is going to be the first year that we have ever gotten any number of apples. I think we've gotten 1 or 2 on a couple of years previous, but never this many. Now, I will warn you, we're going to win the Ugly Apple Award. Here is my tree, and this is one of the first apple trees we ever planted here at Kowalski Mountain, along with that one. They were planted at the same time. Now that tree has had a battle. The deer tried to kill it. We had to move it. It's really, really done well considering how small it is. But these were planted at the exact same time. And this is going to be my big producer. Now, it looks like the bugs are going to beat us. This is a Johnamac apple. Yeah, the bugs are getting them. That is so sad. Now, I will be honest. We like to raise our stuff as organically as we can, but we're really struggling with fruit trees. And so Philip did spray the trees early in the season. I don't believe that he's done it again because our main goal is never to spray our food with poison, but what we're doing is not working. So we definitely need to try something. So I don't know what that will be. Now I'm going to walk over here to the pond. My knee is really hurting. I've been on it a lot. It's just really hurting. I want to show you the pond and then I want to show you the corn that's over here. Almost there. I'm going to huff and puff my way over there. Now here's the pond, and I'm going to stick the video footage from the flooding here on the screen for you so you can see our flash flooding. I am thrilled that the pond held. It near crested. The water was to the very top, but it held. Thank you, Lord. So hopefully we will be able to keep a pond. Now I wanted to come over here because this is where we can see the other corn. Now Philip has planted a couple of varieties. I know there's Bloody Butcher over here. I do not know all the varieties that he planted. And likely the deer will get a lot of this. Now I have one final thing I want to show you on the July garden tour, because I am so proud of it. One of our goals is not only to raise food for ourselves, but to raise food for our animals. And this year, our corn looks so good. We did it, or I should say Philip did it. Philip did it himself. Our way, organically, with no chemicals. We're actually growing a non-GMO variety of corn, and it looks amazing. So let's head up to the top of the field to see this beautiful corn. And I'm gonna turn off the video because I'm gonna huff and puff all the way up there. Now we're coming up on the creek crossing, and I wanted to show you this because this had the most damage from all the flooding. So before all the flooding, you couldn't even see this layer of rock. Philip had built that up deeper so that the road was a little bit higher. If you look at previous videos, Philip carefully built walls here with all this rock, all that washed away. You can actually see the rock down in this hole down in there. So you can see as I'm walking in that this used to be deep. We actually dug it out with the excavator, but it has filled up with sediment. And that sediment goes right to the bottom of the culverts. Now the problem with that is that when it rains again, this is quickly overwhelmed. There's no depth of the water, and it quickly goes over the top. Now the other thing that happened down here was Philip's pump was down here. That's how he pumps water for the animals. It was buried in the rock underneath, and he had to dig it out. And I didn't really say anything about it because we've had words about this, and all is well that ends well. He was able to dig the pump out, and he cleaned out a ton of rock and debris and dirt, and it actually still works. So he saved himself from his wife telling him so. I'll just say that. Let's go see the corn. Look at this corn, y'all. I cannot tell you how excited about this I am. How proud I am of Philip that he was able to do this. Now the first year that we grew corn, it was kind of embarrassing. It was the saddest looking cornfield in the county. I was actually glad we live way down this country dead-end road that nobody saw how terrible our corn looked, because it was terrible. We didn't fertilize that year, and fertilizing is very expensive. You know, it costs like $600 to do a field like this, and this is only a couple acres, so it's very, very expensive to fertilize. And you also have to do lime. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you have to do to really get your corn an advantage, and we didn't do it. And we did not have a successful harvest. No, this is the third year. This is the third year. So the first year, the year that it was so pathetic, the Amish did help us, but all they did was use their equipment to plant the field. And they planted it with their horse and plow. That's how they helped us. Last year, we partnered with them, and we actually went in on the expenses, and they actually did a lot of the work. The corn looked beautiful, but the Amish don't grow organically. And so they did spray chemicals on our corn. And that's not really how we want to farm. but we appreciate their assistance and their wisdom because they still are very knowledgeable about growing at this level. This field is about 2 acres. Now this year, we branched out on our own because we want to do it our way. We want to do it organically without chemicals. And we had to borrow a friend's plow and seeder. Thank you, Mike and Jeanette, for making this possible. And we're going to have to do all the work this year. We weren't going to have the help of the Amish to do all the work. But I am thrilled because this is a lot of corn for our cows and our pigs. Now we do more than just feed them the corn. We also use the stalks. The cows love corn stalks. Funny story. I'm out one night canning, I think, salsa. I'm on the deck late at night. And I look over and Meg is in Philip's cornfield, the garden. We're near all the tomatoes. So I tell him, Meg's in your corn. This is where living in the country has its advantages. He went running out there in his underwear to chase her out of the corn. So I couldn't even video it for you. So I have no video of that. But the cows love to eat the corn stalks like this. Now when it dries out, it makes fantastic bedding. We run it through the chipper and it makes a beautiful bedding. I love it in my chicken coops, actually, most of all. We also put it in with the pigs, and you know, we always have pigs born in the winter and we need a lot of bedding. And this is free. It takes work to run it through the chipper, and we don't have a really good way to store it. But it definitely is a really good bedding and one that it's worth the effort for us to do. Here, let's try this. I'll just use my phone. So look at these beautiful ears of corn. Now every stalk of corn usually only has a couple of ears on it. Usually just 2. Sometimes you get lucky and get 3. I'm seeing a bunch here with just 1. Now Philip was really worried about these weeds. Oh, these weeds are chest high that I'm walking through. Before all of the corn grew, he was able to go through here with the machines, but now he can't do that anymore. So it just is what it is. Now I am 5'9", and you can see how tall this corn is in comparison to me. This non-GMO corn is very, very tall. How tall I am compared to the corn. Well, friends, as much as I have enjoyed catching you up here with the July garden, that is a wild, wild garden, I have canning to do. So I better get back to the house and get that done. As always, friends, I really appreciate you watching, especially to the very end. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, hit that button. I'd love you to be a part of the Kowalski mountain family. Now I am going to do a little canning when I get home, so if you want to stick around and see how it goes, keep watching. Alright, so I am out here on the deck and I have my 2 roasting ovens going. There are 60 pounds of tomatoes in these 2 roasting ovens, and they are on their way to be spaghetti sauce. This is one of my favorite canning tools ever. It's a quart stainless steel pitcher, and it makes filling jars so simple and fast. I'll put the link below. Alright, I hope you can hear me because I know that fan is really loud, but it gets hot in here without it, and I really need it. One of my favorite foods to preserve are stuffed peppers. Now those I made a little while ago and they've been in the freezer. So we have peppers that we grew, there's tomatoes in here that we grew, there's chicken that we raised, and there's cheese that I made, plus rice and stuff like that. Now this is one of those meals that I love in winter. Because it's going to be amazing when there's snow on the ground that I can have garden fresh food. I never know how big to cut a bag. And that was obviously too big. Now because I'm really lacking on counter space, I've got my canner going, I have yogurt cooling, that's going to be for the yogurt. I'm using a tray to make up for my lack of counter space. Now Philip and I will just eat 3, so we'll each eat a full one, and then the third one we cut in half, and that is a sufficient meal for us. The main reason I made the bag so long was because I thought I would have to do 1, 2, 3, you know, like in a row. I didn't realize I'd be able to cluster them, so that's going to help a lot. Now my vacuum sealer will overheat, so I only get to do so many of these, and then I have to take a break. You do not know how badly I wanted to win the chamber sealer at the festival. We would have put that to really good use. Now see, this one I should have done just a wee bit longer. All right, I have the peppers all done. So 5 meals of cheesy stuffed peppers to go into the freezer. Now this recipe is on my blog, and I'm gonna be sure to put the link right down below. Now the other item that I froze individually is stuffed shells, and this is made with my homemade ricotta. I usually put spinach in it because that's gonna make the cheese go a lot further. But I don't have any spinach. Now normally for us a serving is 4, and sometimes we only eat 3, but there's 1 extra, so I'm going to toss it in. It'll make for a really good lunch. I have gotten so far behind around here. All of this stuff should have been done already, but it's getting done today. And there we go, another ready-to-eat meal on a busy night. Philip is out in the garden picking all those tomatoes. I'm finishing my sauce in here. And I feel like I need to count the bucket, so 2 more buckets of tomatoes. Should we do a little count laugh? Ha 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 ha. 2 more buckets. Well, I told Philip that 6 buckets tomatoes is really the limit on our capacity here. So let me show them to you. This top tray, these need to be used right away. So those are all the bumped and starting to go bad ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Roxy, you messed up my count.